You know what I heard? I once heard that college was a waste of time. I heard you can get more experience out there in the real world, right? Because if all they're looking for is experience, right? Because experience to get a job. That's always what you hear. Oh, experience. They use that kind of like as an alternative kind of word. Sometimes, some jobs do. And you can tell if you have, enough wits, right? And yes, I did just say that, enough wit. Again, when it comes to words and context and kind of, switching things around, right? Experience can be used interchangeably to actually mean knowledge about something. Have you had enough experience? Or at least you have to have had a year experience or whatever, or at least enough amount of somewhat life experience to do this or that. Experience meaning some type of knowledge of going through it yourself, obviously. Someone's like, duh. But no, I mean, experience doesn't always have to mean, you have to have a certified diploma and you have to have this and you have to know. If anything, I've actually been learning myself, and I've heard this too, connections. That's really what gets you places. That's really what's going to take you places. But how do you connect people when you don't know anyone and when you don't? I mean, I don't know what kind of connections I'm going to be able to make. Let's say I want to get into some kind of a company or whatever, some kind of a branch. I mean, of course, my feelings about, ways of things today and, the government and the whole schemes of things, right? The underground stuff and money and how I feel about it. So I'm already not so attached to all this crap when it comes to the general of how things are working today. Because, I don't know, there's a song, Bittersweet Symphony. It really, it doesn't let you know. I feel like even that song doesn't really fully take the full effect on you because it's talking about, you know, trying to make ends meet, trying to make a bunch of money, and then you die. It doesn't really take the full effect until you've actually been living that life. Fast forward for 30 or maybe 50 years, and then you're old, and now you're in pain, and you can't hardly walk, and all this stuff, and having all these health issues, and now you can hardly breathe, and then you remember your main motivation and occupation was trying to this drive for making money, right? So you can get this synthetic shelter around you, so you can get these walls, right? And what I've been noticing lately, who are your main, um, mm, who are your main construction workers and curb appeal specialists, right? Mm, mainly a bunch of Hispanics. Well, when I say specialists, I mean people who actually go and do the grub work, right? Your Hispanic guys, Latino guys, or whatever, right? Young or old to a certain degree, you know? So it seems like that kind of helps enforce them in their placement, right? Because like, you really open your eyes and you see who is who. I mean, forget about being colorblind. Forget about that crap. No one else is colorblind, okay? Because like I said, every community takes care of theirs. They're gonna get theirs, okay? They keep things within their family. They keep things within their community, right? That's how they build some sort of wealth, right? If you can have the backup money, resources, whatever, behind it, not just how much you make, how much it may say on your paycheck. It's not wealth. When you have the backup behind it, though, what can you back it up with? So the terms, when you really have to think about words and dive into words, what it implies on paper versus the reality of it, right? Because, like I said, experience, you must be experienced. No, no. Sometimes you have to dig deeper, and it may be interchangeable sometimes, and what you're going to find is, like I said, it's different from what it says on paper and how fancy it looks on paper versus actually, because sometimes jobs will take you when, yeah, you do have a connection, right, to someone else, to that other certain company or to this one other branch manager or leader or whatever. I just don't see myself getting attached to a company, though, with the connections that I'm making or with the experience that I have, because this stuff that I'm doing, it seems more of, which I find any job can be your grimy type of job, but what I'm saying is, working at Target, all that I seem to be classified for, I don't know, I wonder, could I be in a higher up place as far as, I guess, a more prestigious company. But of course, I know that the more prestigious and selective it is, I know that that kind of means I'm going to be dealing with a lot of more whites and bullshit and assimilation tactics and things like that. I'm going to be in a space that is going to be a certain way when I'm already, quote, a certain way. So, there's going to be a lot more of, management as far as things that I do and things that I say, and like keeping my mouth shut about certain things. And I just, in these white spaces, I just don't know how I feel about being around a bunch of whites. Not now. Maybe someone's like, ooh, ooh, that's really bad. No, you have to understand what I mean. When you've been in a room and you feel like all that's happening is you're being watched, you constantly have to try to seem as, uptight and as official as all these other white people around you, and it's only your black ass in there, then you can talk to me when we can have a better flow of conversation. But if you're just some person who's always ever known your whiteness and your white spaces, and you've never really known what it is to conform, and it's not even on the same level of well, one time I mean, don't act like I too don't have to try to, print myself up more for some of these interviews, and I have to try to, kind of play a certain part too. No, it's not the same. It's really not the same. There's more to it. Again, there's the bulk of it, right? The foundation actually that holds everything up together for me versus for you, and that space is completely different. And maybe we can have a talk about it, but most I feel aren't really going to want to. Most whites aren't really going to want to. They don't want to be. They don't want to be confronted, I guess, about that, about what is indeed reality, or they'd rather just throw it over their shoulder. And I get that, right? Because when you're in a place of goodness of your own, you're like, shoot, I don't care, I'm getting money. It's easier to turn your head. It's easier, and I get it. Why would you really care, or even pretend to care, or put in any sort of effort, whatever, for me, my black ass and my black problems? So I get it, especially, there's a song by Anthony Hamilton, Coming From Where I'm From, especially when I'm coming from where I'm coming from, where you're, where you're, where you're at, and where you've always been at, and where you'll continue to stay, because things are in your favor. And that's because of the reassurance of, again, other white folks. Now, I'm not saying this is anything that, maybe you can say, hey, well, I'm white and my family was never wealthy, but guess what? There are places you'll be able to go. There are places you'll be able to go because of, well, like I said, whites take care of their own. They make a certain assurance that their spaces stay, their spaces. To some degree, they really make sure that the things of a certain nature stay white, you know? Maybe they'll have a few scattering of blacks to add to the illusion of diversity, or maybe they need that, diversity themselves for whatever the company, or, yeah, it's some weird thing like that. But I guarantee it's an angle that is not really within the favor of that person, as they are. It just, you have to open your eyes and realize things as they are. And, yeah, I don't know with my connections, right? If I come to some company, depending on how I even feel about that kind of stuff, like I said, because I feel off coming to a company where I know that, how it's run, right? And how, knowing that I'm still going to be taking part in this, the grand pyramid scheme effect, sort of taking my place in, or taking part in certain places, how, what is it, social, constructs work based off of, the jobs that you're, available to have, or whatever. I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff stacking up in the background that, like I said, you want to pretend that things are a certain way for a reason, but really, you know why certain people are working the jobs that they are. You know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep seeing the same damn faces in the same positions. So instead of, no, stop it. Instead of playing it off, just admit it for what it is. I'd rather do that than pretend, you know? I'd rather pretend. And I also, part of me hates taking part in anything like that, right? When I know that the majority of other people like me, let's say I happen to get into this company, the majority of people like me, no, like I said, because maybe they take the very few scattering of other blacks or whatever, but it's not the reasons that you think. It's definitely not for this happy all inclusion. Otherwise, why would there only be the few scattering of blacks? Now, a counter thing to that my mind automatically goes to as well, because I find, and even I've said this, like I feel like the general black community, they're niggas, right? So if it's hard to even interact in general day-to-day things with black people, imagining working with these people, an actual professional, right? However you define professional, I define as actually being able to get things done and actually being able to communicate and having a certain flow of business and whatever it is that you're doing. It could be putting staples into a stapler, right? Like it has to have a certain, it has to reach a certain level of effect, being able to handle business, right? I can't imagine having that with a lot of blacks, but still, they're underground background factors too, because again, you have to take into account that these are indeed, these companies or this business is backed by, what is it backed by? It's backed by this standard of white spaces and keeping what is white white. Maybe someone's like, no, we have Paul. I mean, Paul's black, and he's like, he's our janitor. Yeah. Whatever the title is, whether he's working as the janitor or whether he's, filing paperwork just like Jim, his white counterpart is, whatever. But still, he's still more of a special case, than Jim, so yeah. You have to realize the underlining bulk of things and what things mean. Now, I'm just saying, I don't feel like my connections would be as strong as, coming from where I'm from, literally, and the things I'm used to, right? I can't go up to a company if I even wanted to partake. This is why I had to talk about, the background of scheme about, you know, well, how things are built upon one another based on, yes, where you're coming from and what you look like and what you're going to ask that company based on what you look like, and in return, what this company already has set out, or what this manager or CEO, whatever person is going to tell you about their hidden goals and what they already set out and intend to have their business be like and stay. Sometimes I'm talking about like the underground, things that people may not want to admit, things they don't want to, actually think about in depth, because they probably don't, they're probably not going to like the answer that, is indeed the conclusion, because what that means for them is, dot, 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 or whatever. But I just know that that's why I had to talk about the background and, talking about any company or corporation or anything like that, a lot of things are white. A lot of things are white and run and backed by whiteness, driven by whiteness and keeping things white, to a certain degree. And me, right, infiltrating those spaces, I'm not just saying because you have a bunch of white people around. No, it goes deeper than just the people, what they look like running it, but it's a foundation of keeping things a certain way. And then when you have someone like me, right, it grants opportunities to maybe, here I am, my black ass bringing home more wealth, considered wealth, right? Because people consider wealth to be one thing, but indeed it is another. You know, Wealth being in this case just happens to be more money. Again, on paper, right? It doesn't mean that I'm suddenly rich or I'm backed up by this or I'm able to build generational wealth, but at least this is me, getting a little bit more paper, right? A little bit more money. And that's something that should be rare for a black folk, right? So I feel like the white folks have to make a decision if they really want to hand me that bone or not, to indeed hand me the little bit more money that I'm going to be making for them in their system of whiteness, right? Because, whites make certain things work for them, and they have their own flow of business, and that's why, they're able to be successful at certain ways when it comes to the flow of business. I'm not saying all businesses, I'm not saying all white businesses are just swimming in money, but I'm saying at least there's a certain flow of, based on the effect of things that they're able to do. Again, what is it? What is that word? Professional, right? Professional, and the way that its effect, how effective things are with how they carry out business. And I don't hear a lot of things being bragged about black businesses, or about even, black shops that do well for themselves. I just don't hear that, right? I'm sure they exist, but see, like, no one's really advocating that. And I mean, you know, ugh, there's so much to talk about as far as like the foundation of stuff and why it is, but yeah, I'm just saying I don't see a lot of representation as far as that in the black community. I don't see it. I don't hear about it. And that means that, there's a certain, blacks aren't meeting that, that they're not stepping up in the way that they could be, right? Because again, we don't even have opportunities for ourselves. And again, generational wealth, you're not giving certain advantages and opportunities and experience, right? Certain pools of knowledge, even just the knowledge of, hey, knowing that, hey, this is available to you. It could be available to you in your own neighborhood, right? This successful business, or even just saying, hey, I'm a friend of someone who is indeed within some kind of a, you know, family business or whatever. They have their own line of things, or at least they're going somewhere, right? No, if anything, it's more of I'm working for the man. I'm still working for someone else. I'm still underneath someone else. And my future is kind of more dependent on whether or not this person is going to choose me, pick out of the litter. Now, maybe someone's like, yeah, duh, that's kind of how it is for anyone. You don't have to be, that's not special. You don't have to be black for that. This is true. You can also be a white person in these kind of predicaments or whatever, in this kind of, style of life. How you have to live your life, whether, for the time being or over the next few years, or maybe, yeah, it will be your life for the rest of your life, always going to someone else for things. But you have to realize how that sets yourself up to fail. And I guess right now I'm just going to throw in as an example. I feel like black parents teach their kids, they get their kids too wrapped up and basically the things that blacks should depend on whites for in other communities. They should, expect to get involved in school systems, again, which are backed by other systems that are not indeed in any way in favor of black people and their conditions, right? They're not going to teach them anything, on their level, things that are going to help build them up, right? They're going to get tossed in this bland system. And yeah, they're supposed to, that isn't meant for them, that isn't meant for them to come out on top anyway. Not really. So you're going to go through all the years of school, and you're going to get good grades, and then you're going to have a good record, you're going to have good grades, and then you're probably going to get into a good college. Let's say you get into a, considered to be good college, and let's say you get spit out, and you have a few degrees backed by you, but now what are you going to do? Because college isn't going to save you. Understand? Like, college isn't going to save you. And now here you are with your degrees, but see, it still isn't good enough, right? You come to these jobs, sorry, you're not qualified enough. You go back to school, more money, more money, more money. You're investing, more loans stacked up and racked up on you. Go to another job, right? Again, jobs that are controlled by who? Majority of the time, because we don't have much of anything, right? The majority of blacks, we don't have anything. We don't have much to build on. If it's not, oh yeah, I have a job, or no, it's usually that's for someone else. That's someone else's foot on your throat. You have to understand, they can take you, they can toss you out whenever they want to. And just teaching your kids, I feel like that's all they have. that's only, number one, as good as they are. That's only credit. That's all that should be credited to them. Is again having to go to someone else for things. That's not really teaching them to be productive, and I don't feel it's not very productive. Not very professional, right? It doesn't allow a good flow of things, especially when systems are not built for you. And again, this is where it's important. This is the difference between, your white ass and my black ass. That is indeed the difference, and that is always going to be the difference. Because your community, your people, at least there are more spaces for you, there are more opportunities for you because of how things are. They keep things within their community. They pass down more things than again, blacks, how we're taught to think and pass down things onto our children. Now, granted, well, no one's stopping you from doing that now. You're right. And this is also where I feel like, again, we keep failing on our part in the black community because no one's talking about this. If anything, you're talking about bubblegum, talking about apple bottom jeans, you're talking about Lil Wayne. No one's really talking about doing anything serious. No one really gives a damn about, it seems, the youth and the generations coming up. And those who do, either they're so sick, they're so sick of their own community, so they move away and they completely disregard their community. I understand that. I really do. So even sometimes I get sick of it. I get sick of the community and I feel like there's no hope, there's no faith. I've made a couple of videos like that already. Or, they find that they have to, the systems they have to navigate through to possibly implicate some kind of change. These systems and these spaces are indeed still white and backed up by whiteness because I mean, really, we haven't built that much for ourselves to actually implicate that strong of a force to actually start to rearrange policies and rearrange laws for ourselves because because we're not underneath our own statutory of things. We don't have our own governmental system. We're not our own, I hate to say it, but we're really not even our own community. We're just a collection of people still underneath someone else. If you want to rearrange policies and how we carry out things, again, who do we have to go to? We have to go to the mayor or the secretary of state or whatever. We have to try to, again, see these are things within their system, within the governmental system, and see, when you follow a certain protocol, you follow the steps. Again, well, who is it that's really calling the shots? So you're trying to change the system, you don't want any part of the system, but yet you have to go to the system to implicate this change, right? You have to follow it and play by their rules, their guidelines. And if they happen to throw you a bone, right, of happening to getting back to you on that letter that maybe you wrote and you sent to the courthouse months ago, if they happen to get back to you, well, they're going to give you your answer and they're probably going to tell you, you can't do this because da-da-da-da, and maybe they'll even shove the Constitution in your face about how this is discriminatory or this is unconstitutional. They'll use that whole thing on you. Maybe, they'll find any way they can to try to, again, just kind of numb it down, keep the lid on, yeah, it's a lot of things that stack upon another, but I'm saying, you want to change the system and rearrange things for your people collectively. The general have only ever known this way of life and this way of living being underneath a certain system. So now you have youth and a generation who is in fact dependent on these systems that are again provided by not their own, right? So now it's in their mind that these are the way. This is the way to survive. This is how it's supposed to be, and this is all I'm credited for, and this is supposed to be good enough. So you're supposed to get in here and want to change the system, but still go through the system in order to possibly change the system. But if the system works in their favor, again, they being, you know how they are. You know who they are. People who literally hold you in their hands and hold everything, about you and information about you and information about your family and information about your future, right? Because everything, again, when you put yourself, when you trust yourself and your further generations what is it, well-being in the hands of another, who again isn't even a part of you, isn't even a part of you, who continues to live their way of life and you live yours. Don't is it crazy to think that they can take it away whenever they want to, especially when you get out of line? It's not that crazy to think. I feel like, my connections and my credibility, coming from where I'm from, because and maybe someone's like, hey, well, I started out here and there and I moved up and whatever. I'm just saying, as a young blood coming up, I'm kind of struggling with how, the kind of connection I'm supposed to make. I don't know if my connections, like I'm looking at a job for Target and part-time, associate worker, stuff like that. I don't know what kind of connections that's going to bring me if I do indeed want to go to some higher end company. Like, what if the company is known for, okay, like Vedcur, right? Vedcur, I almost got, into that. I was indeed accepted, I was, but, had to tap out because that wasn't going to be, that wasn't, I didn't, I didn't think that would provide a stable income for me. And plus, at the time, I didn't really need a job like that. Now, it sounded promising, it did, but see, I didn't see the actuality of how that job was really going to benefit me, especially in my current situation. When I needed something more steady and more concrete, I felt like um, certain generalities weren't in place because that's not your standard job. It's not your standard job. So, but just because it's not standard doesn't mean it wouldn't have worked out great. And that's also why I wanted to take the leap. Because I was like, hey, but maybe I'll be good at this. But then, finding out what I knew, basically about how I would have to drive around, right? That's my own gas and everything like that. Yeah. Drive here, drive there, drive across town, drive all the way back across town and do this and do that. Well, I wasn't really in favor of all that because that was gonna be more money stacked up against me that I'd always have to use, and in return, not that big of a paycheck. But whatever. How that whole system works, it's whatever. You know, they try to bump you up and give you a certain percentage, higher percentage. But that's only after you make like some, after you make, in a total amount of booming sales. After you make like 1,000 sales or whatever, something like that, within a few months, something like that. So yeah, it wasn't very, yeah. Anyway, it seems, ugh. But I'm just saying, what kind of connections, what kind of jobs want the connections that I have? Because again, if I'm coming to them and I'm like, hey, well, I have a connection from this place and from that place, and I have references and recommendations from this place and that place. I don't know if it's going to be on the same level as this more considered to be higher up prestigious company that maybe I'm trying to get into. I just don't know how connections are supposed to work. Not the connections that I'm making right now, not with my past experience, right? A word interchangeably. I know what way I mean it when I say experience right now. Maybe you don't understand the way that I mean it when I say it, but what I done at the time I spent doing it. Because you can be doing a job doesn't mean you actually know what the hell you're doing. If you don't, and if you are unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, just think about whenever you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, Best Buy. You have people there, sometimes they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. You're like, excuse me, where is this? They don't even know where it is in the store. Like, they don't pay attention. They can't tell you about the product. They're just there to be there, right? They're on a hustle. They're just trying to keep their head down, trying to fly by solo, trying to, get the money that they get there, just to get by, right? They know they're not really as advanced in knowledge and experience background as their fellow coworker who maybe really be invested in all this tech stuff or whatever, tools, whatever it happens to be, produce or whatever, but seeds or whatever it is, but They're still put on the same level, so they still get the same amount of pay, basically, as that other person who really is working hard and actually doing more than this other person, right? I think that's funny. You have people who still get the same amount as the people who are actually, you know, way lower than you, if that makes any sense. And, here we go talking about, hey, well, no one's better than anyone else. All right. do you want to be equal or do you want to win? You know what I'm saying? Like right now, that's where I am. Like, okay, do we all want to be equal and hold hands and like, do we all want to be blind together, or would we rather have the ones who can actually see come out on top and run like hell as fast as they can and finish this damn race? Because they can actually see the finish line. They can actually run, not just the ability to run, but actually to cross that line and win, right? Yeah, take us farther and advance us more as a company. So that's why sometimes, like, right now, thinking about it, I've never really thought about this before, but I'd rather not have the general equality. I'd rather have us be able to win, come out on top. And again, getting back to spaces and keeping things within a certain frame. Yeah, I can understand why some companies aren't always for this equality factor and affirmative action. Maybe they really don't care. Now, again, on paper, they're going to say, yeah, we are an equal opportunity employer. We're an affirmative action employer. But then when you look around, what do you mainly see in their faces? You see the same type of people. Maybe a few of those people, 8 out of the 30, have special higher degrees and backgrounds. But on the general, again, who's really thrown the bone and who's really taken into these spaces on a majority. And maybe you have the scattering few, right? You have the few sprinkles of your more, special people who add the illusion of diversity. It's kind of how I feel about cops, right? You may see the very few cops who are not indeed white. I'm not just saying black, because there's more than just black and white, but that adds the illusion of a certain equality and inclusion, right? But again, the important thing is to not lose focus. If you're not indeed white, it's not to lose focus on how things really are. And I feel like other communities do that a hell of a lot better than blacks do. We get included in something, then we think, oh my God, things have really changed. Oh my God, okay, let's get all our children together. Oh my God, times have changed. It's the future is coming. The future is bright. Yes, we hope, we pray. Yes, we can. Right? We say all these things and we stomp our feet and we chant and we hallelujah. Yes, yes, Lord, it's finally come. Thank you. We get our children enwrapped in this, and then you keep passing on this idea from generation to generation. Meanwhile, other communities, they may be working this job, but if they keep some damn sense in their head and they remember how it is, right? They don't lose themselves. They don't try to, take out certain parts of their history and, blend it with this and, twist it with this and manipulate it with this and try to blend it with another community's history and try to intertwine and pretend like things are a certain way. They don't try to do that and then pass that mess down to their children. No, they keep it as it was. They know, okay, I may be working this job, but I know the underground. I know the real reason why. Maybe I'm just doing this job, because I'm not going to lose focus on why I am in this job. I'm just doing it just to get by. Kind of like me, right? Working the job that I have now, whenever they work me, Yeah, those white people smile in my face. They pretend like things are a certain way, but no, I don't lose focus. I'm not going to get invested. I mean, don't think that, okay, well, so, you're a slack worker. No, I still do a good job and everything. I'm professional. I keep a decent etiquette and a decent attitude towards them. I'm still good. I'm frank, but yet I'm still decent. I still act, but I have to put on like this fake screen cover of extra politeness and like I actually give a damn about these people because I know they're doing the same to me. You see, that's what it is. I don't lose focus of what is really there, what is really going on. I'm not going to delude myself and think, oh, everything's great. No, because when you do that, you open yourself up, and also you're giving yourself over to those who can hurt you the most. And also you lose a part of yourself, and you lose a part of your culture and your history doing that stuff. when you try to blend in things with yours, and again, I guess now I'm talking about integration versus segregation. So, oof, whatever. I'm not going to talk about all that, but I'm just saying it's important. Those other communities, they're smart. They keep things within the family, they pass it down, and they know, okay, I may be working this job, this white job, within this white space for these white folks in this white company, getting this, white production of money, right? Because indeed, it is coming from, the money is white. It is coming from, you know, your white manager, and that manager is getting it from the person on top of them, then the person on top of them, the person. I feel like the more higher up in these places of social class or whatever, as it is defined, well, in status, you're gonna see less and less color. It's gonna get lighter as you go up, right? Because again, we don't have anything as black folks backing us up, right? So that's why I feel like it's important for us to have our local things, keep things local, versus trying to get into big business all the time. And then when it craps out, either when, again, they don't take us and they don't want us, or when we find that our product, our TV shows have somewhat been manipulated, or made a mockery of, or, now, like, and think about the music industry. Damn, you've had so many artists step forward and say, or try to speak out, right? And say, why don't I have the rights to my own music? Why can't I shape my music how I want it to be? You'll find a lot of those artists, black artists especially, when they get out of line, when they expose this stuff to the public, to their people, even when they slightly speak out against it, right? They don't like it when you get out of line, so then they're handled. You guys can look into all that and how that mess plays out. You guys can look at that stuff, how that stuff plays out. Sam Cooke as an example, right? But anyway, these other communities, at least they're smart enough. They know, okay, I may be working this white job, but it's just to get me by. I'm not going to lose sight of who I am. I'm not going to lose sight of what is really going on. And I'm just getting this to get me by right now. But see, even when they're working these white jobs, they're not dependent on this because they're still like an underground of building themselves up financially for them and for their family, right? Maybe they're still doing something on the side that is going to indeed benefit them as they are, right? I do mean how as they are, how they realize that they are, not how anyone is going to try to assimilate them and make them want to be, right? So I still keep things on the sidelines, businesses that they set up, something to keep them, I'm not saying way, 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 way up top and the most prestigious, but keep things local, keep things within their community, right? Keep things and pass it on to their children, their children's children, because they're smart, right? They don't let themselves get brainwashed into invested in what they know is going to work for them anyway, But, we like to, I feel like sometimes I open my eyes and I'm like, blacks don't have much of an identity. We just take on, what we're told we're supposed to like or what we're supposed to, take on, but that was given to us. You understand? And it's like we're not brave enough to actually step up and do things on our own. Because again, number one, I feel like we're scared that if we get out of line, we're going to be handled, right? It's a common thing you see within history and with other black leaders. When they step up, they get out of line. When they start speaking on certain truths, they're replaced, right? They're replaced with some kind of a clone figure, or they just suddenly go away. No one hears about them, and they come back, and like I said, they're, it's like they're completely different, right? It's like they've changed their mind about things, and they're just completely different, or they end up, just dying of some rare flu or some rare, lung condition, Bernie Mac, for example, right? I mean, if you look up why that guy died, it gives you some random bullshit. And it even tells you he died of some random, it starts like with an S, like sarcoidosis, I don't know, whatever. But even the doctors, apparently, it's like all they can say is, it's just some rare, rare thing, but they don't ever go into detail about what it actually is. They give you an overview of, okay, well, it's a lung thing, but, we really don't know that much about it ourselves. How? How so? You mean you're a doctor, but you can't even tell me about this? What if I get it, huh? How rare of a catch is it? Huh. So you're saying it's pretty rare. Well, then how did this guy get it? How does it develop? Right? How does it develop? Maybe it's a version of the flu, but how does it develop from the flu or from, smallpox or whatever to this? Like, where does it come from? Like, like what is it and how did it get there when it came to him? No one can explain. It's, again, they feed you the information, they expect you to just take it and shut up and go on, because you're not supposed to get out of line. You're not supposed to question things. You're just supposed to, yeah, yes, master, yes, sir, yes, sir. That's what you're supposed to do, right? And again, pass that on to your children and your children's children. Then what do you have? You have a generation who don't have their own identity. You have a generation who are lost and who are so much better and feel more comfortable trying to interlock themselves into their spaces than being around their own people and having their own set of things. The other communities, at least they're smarter, so they remember how things are as they are. They know I may be working this job, but I know really the underground. I know how things are, and I'm not going to expect this group of people to take care of me. I'm not. I feel like that's ridiculous anyway. You should be able to take care of your own, whether or not you have a community backing you up. But it certainly does help because, it certainly does help because, I feel like only your people will really be able to help you in times of need. Again, because you're used to certain circumstances when it comes to you and your people. Versus, again, going to another different community, different neighborhoods, who don't even know how to help you. It's kind of like, doctors and engineers. They're both trained to work on things and fix things in a way and look at things and kind of diagnose it, see what the problem is, take their tools, right? Work on it, tighten this up and move this here and patch this up. But if you expect them to be on the same exact level and be able to cooperate with one another it just, maybe there are some things they can kind of come together on, and maybe there's some things, one can influence the other in a certain way. But see, they're working on completely different sets of bodies. One is working on a car. One is working actually on the human body. They're different sets, different precedents. It's completely different. They're never fully gonna be able to lock and come together. And they're not meant to. So what they're doing is completely separate and different from one another. But when you're so dependent on one to complete you, especially when the other isn't even, let's say the engineer depends on the doctor to be able to help them out with certain things. But see, that's a whole different ball game. Especially when the doctor doesn't even really want to be bothered. He'll be nice and he'll smile in your face. Whatever. They'll smile in your face, right? But see, they know in reality, they don't really know what to do to help you. And part of them knows they don't even want to touch it. Because they're fine where they're at, right? They know about what they know about, and they like to keep it that way. They don't have time running around trying to, find things about you and your problems and try to fix you. Help you out. Because, if anything, their job they already have, right? There are things in their life, for their spaces, their community. Life is life, so life can get hard for either way. So if they can hardly get their life together, right? If they're struggling with their occupation, right? Being a doctor, doing doctorly things, they have to deal with the everyday common struggles of their life within their own spaces, within their own community, dealing with their own people, within their own doctorly things, right? You really think they're going to take on the struggles of you? Again, when you're sitting here asking them questions all the time, and it seems like you hardly know what you're doing either about your own damn job, about your own spaces, about your own community, about your own folks, about your own engineerly things. If they're nice enough, they're going to smile on your face, but see, they're still going to turn their head. And especially when it seems you really need them the most, right? I mean, to me, right now, I'm thinking about liberals, right? So you put so much trust in these people who are still for themselves, and still, for their communities, still for their people, and advancing their people in certain ways. Now, you may not be able to see the underground, what's really going on, right, and why they're saying the things they're saying, but you have to trust that it's not really to benefit you, because, they have to take care of their things. They have their doctorly things to take care of. Plus, they have a certain image to maintain, and, again, for their own profession. So what makes you think that suddenly they're just going to switch up? That doesn't make any sense, especially when, again, this profession, this line of work has held them steady for as long as it has, right? They've always been able to depend on this sort of a profession, this sort of work to get them by and to, advance them whenever they, when they least expected it or when it was needed, right? So, how do you expect them to just jump over like that, into something that is so different from their own? So giving your all into these people is a dangerous thing, but something I keep finding in the Black community. Everyone wants to be like everyone else, but not themselves, and there's a bit of an identity crisis. I'm not just talking about with like our appearances and masking certain things with what we buy for ourselves and like the materialistic bullshit to make ourselves feel better and make ourselves as Blacks feel like we're actually getting somewhere in life, like we actually have something, right? Like we're not empty, like we don't have that much of a focus, much of a drive, like we don't have that much of a spirit, a soul of ourselves, but just, again, it's kind of like a, hey, look at me, look how much I have. Will you accept me into your spaces now? Because I'm just like you. I have my doctorate, I have my fancy suits and my fancy ties. Because my parents taught me, and they brought me up saying all I needed to do was be able to get to a place where I was able to, get things like this, the same things that you people look like, the same, the same ways that you people look like, the same things that you have. But why don't you fully want me? Why am I still put off like this? Why am I still feeling like, I'm still being sabotaged? I'm still being, taken advantage of. You probably are. You can't expect other people to take care of you. You just can't. Especially people who, aren't even a part of you in certain ways. I mean, come on now, that's ridiculous. You trust everything you have, and yet you tell your children this bullshit that they're supposed to do the same. Just keep passing it on and on and on. Like, no one wants to take care of ourselves. It's like, we call ourselves a Black community, but yet we don't even want to have our own community. And Tommy Sotomayor says, if anything, he quoted someone else when he said this, but I think he said like he had got this like from a book he read a while ago. And it said there isn't a such thing as a Black community, only Black neighborhoods. Not much of a, unionship of everyone, of the general when it comes to Black folks. It's not just because, this division of us, right? Because you have Black folks who want this, you have Black folks who want to do things this way and this way and this way. But it's literally just like we don't even want a part of ourselves. We don't even want to deal with, us. And I've heard so many other YouTubers and leaders speak on the same shit for a while now, but still, what's the point of talking about it, though, if you're not going to actually implicate things? I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of seeing other people talk about it and just saying the same bullshit I can nod my head to. It may move me, right? When I'm hearing them talk like this, I'm like, yes, finally, someone else gets it. But still, where do you go from there? Now, there was also, speaking about Tommy, I guess, well, he's been doing a lot. He's been doing the Soto You Dig, and I love that stuff. I think that's great, It's really smart, a live panel. Now, he's already kind of had that before with his radio show and everything that he does. I think that's really nice, Ugh. Hear it from the donkey's mouth itself. If you're wondering what people think about certain things, let them show you themselves. So I think that's great. And it's a great panel. You have great, some things in my eye. You have a great panel of people who bring different things to the table sometimes. And, they're funny, really funny stuff and everything like that. And even when they get heated and they have like a bit of a debate, some people I've seen, they get really sensitive and, but whatever, that's fine. People are people and you gotta take it as it is. But the point is just to, as Tommy says about his, latest You Dig, the Soto You Dig. He says, the point of this is, blah, blah, is blank, blank, it's not this, this, and this. It's not to agree, but it's, blank, blank. I think that's great, but he's been doing, videos on this and that, and he's recently done videos about, that Baton Rouge, shooting, when the cop literally shot that guy in the back, and anyway, I mean, okay, so how many more times do we have to see things like this happen? How many more times are we going to sit down at panels and discuss and talk about things? Because, talking isn't going to do much of anything. Maybe you're going to pass along an idea that maybe you hadn't thought of before. Maybe you're even going to move a few people. But what's the point of being moved if you're just going to still continue to be stuck in the same places as you are in reality? When you still don't speak up, when you still don't do anything about where you are. You still don't implement change. What's the point? What's the point in hearing about these things happen around the world, but, when in your own community it's affecting your own people, but yet, so sometimes I question, how do I even plan on doing anything different? How do I plan on making change? And, I'm wondering how to go about it all. I'm really wondering. Because I know I'm up against the great enemy themselves, but I'm also, I feel like I'm having a fight. I'd have to end up fighting off my own people, because there are people who, they're scared. They like to keep the system as it is. They don't really know what else is for them, and they can't imagine anything else. And I get that. I completely get that, because, but still, we need to do better. Instead of talking about ways we're going to do better, I'd like to actually get together and actually, I'm making it a plan of mine. I have been for a while, to get together with people and actually make change. Change within ourselves. I'm not talking about change for the world. No, fuck that. Fuck the world. The world isn't thinking about me. It's not thinking about us. All right? They're tending to our own communities, to their own communities, to their own spaces, for their own people. Constantly building on for their own people. And if one person happens to fuck up, then at least they fuck up everything for the community, fuck up the reputation for the community, for those people, for their children and their children's children. Well, we don't even have anything to fuck up. We really don't. So instead of just talking about change and someday a change gonna come and yes we can and all this stuff, no. I just know I want to do more, I know a lot of other people want to do more. They want. But they end up getting stuck in the same roles that aren't that much different, even if they feel like it is, even if they feel like they're doing something, doesn't mean that it's actually going to lead anywhere, But I'm just sitting here having to look through jobs again, and I'm like, I really don't know what kind of, what this mess is going to do for me, in the future. Besides just jobs that happen to get me by, kind of actual, connection can I make? I've heard college can't give you those connections. College can't do anything like that. I mean, not really. As far as jobs and, a placement and actually getting somewhere and getting your foot into the door of something that is much bigger than just your average, grimy job, right? Connections are going to be really great and better for that than saying, oh yeah, well I have this, this diploma from this or this or this. No, I mean, plenty of people have diplomas though. What can you bring to the table? Yeah, so I talked about a lot. I did. But, anyway, that's all I have. I'm out.